Hello everyone, and welcome to our session today. I'm excited to have you here for our discussion on Mega Goal 1.2. Today, we'll be focusing on Unit 9, which is all about complaints. We'll be listening, discussing, and exploring how to handle complaints effectively. So get ready for an engaging and informative session. Let's get started. Let's walk through how to effectively address complaints by focusing on each category. First, we need to identify the problem in each area. This means understanding exactly what the issue is. Next, it's important to find and ask the right questions about these complaints. Asking questions helps us clarify the situation and gather necessary details. Then, we should identify the specific complaint sentence correctly. This step ensures we understand the core concern accurately before moving forward. Finally, engaging in a conversation about the complaints allows us to discuss solutions and reassure the customer. By following these steps, formulating the problem, asking questions, identifying the issue, and having a conversation, we can handle complaints more effectively. These points are central to our overall goal of improving customer satisfaction and resolving issues efficiently. So, when you're facing a problem with a product or service, one of the first options is to call customer service. They can often help resolve the issue quickly, whether it's a refund, replacement, or some other solution. Alternatively, if that doesn't work, you might consider taking the items back to the shop where you bought them. Sometimes, a direct return is the simplest way to get things sorted out. Now, I want to ask you, what did you do to resolve a problem like this in the past? Did you reach out to customer service, or did you prefer to go back to the shop? It's interesting because these choices can really depend on the situation and personal preference. Also, think about a time when you bought or paid for something that you weren't happy with. Maybe it was defective, not as described, or just didn't meet your expectations. Recognizing these moments is important because they highlight the value of knowing how to handle such situations effectively. This ties into our overall theme today, understanding how to navigate customer experiences and resolve issues confidently. Being proactive and knowing your options can make a big difference in how satisfied you feel with your purchases. Now, let's talk about serving and looking after customers, which is at the heart of any successful business. Customer service is all about creating positive experiences and building strong relationships with those who choose our brand. It's important to remember that every interaction, no matter how small, can influence customer satisfaction and loyalty. Key points to focus on include being attentive, responsive, and genuinely caring about their needs. Listening carefully to what they have to say helps us understand their expectations better. Then, responding promptly and professionally shows that we value their time and trust. This approach ties directly into our overall theme of excellence and consistency. When we serve customers well, we're not just meeting their needs, we're exceeding expectations and fostering long-term loyalty. Good customer service is really the foundation that supports everything else we aim for as a business. Today, we're going to look at what a complaint really means. Essentially, a complaint is a statement that expresses dissatisfaction or says that something is not acceptable. It's a way for someone to communicate that they're unhappy with a service, product, or situation. When we hear the word complaint, think about it as someone sharing their feelings of disappointment or frustration. Now, you might notice that the word appears multiple times. Complaints. This repetition emphasizes the importance of understanding this concept, especially as we move forward in this unit. Speaking of the unit, what's the title of Unit 9? It's Before Reading. This indicates that we're setting the stage for what's coming next, preparing ourselves to understand and engage with the material about complaints more effectively. So, as we explore this unit, keep in mind that understanding complaints is crucial for effective communication, especially in situations where conflicts or dissatisfaction arise. Recognizing the meaning helps us respond appropriately and improve our interactions overall. All right, let's take a look at this slide. Here, we see 4 pictures, each showing an item that is broken or damaged in some way. Now, the key question is, what do these pictures have in common? What unites them? Well, all of these items are examples of damage or breakage, which helps us think about the importance of maintenance and proper handling. You might also notice that there are 4 pictures, so it's a small, focused set meant to make us think about how things can get damaged. Before we go further, I want you to consider, how many pictures are there? Yes, 4. That's right. This slide is designed to get us thinking about the common issues that lead to damage. It's part of our overall theme, which is about understanding risks and learning how to prevent or manage damage before it happens. Recognizing damaged items can help us identify patterns or causes so we can improve our practices. So, as we move forward, keep in mind that these visuals are not just about the damage itself, but about understanding the context and the importance of careful handling to avoid these situations. So let's look at this slide. The walls are filthy, and by filthy, we mean very dirty. This highlights a common problem people face in their homes. It's about the state of the house or apartment, specifically the cleanliness issues. Now, where does this happen? Typically, in everyday living spaces like your apartment or house. It's a situation that many of us can relate to. Sometimes the cleanliness falls behind due to busy schedules or other priorities. I want you to take a moment and look at each picture. For each one, find a sentence that expresses a complaint. These sentences reflect the residents' frustrations about the condition of their home. The key point here is that cleanliness and maintenance issues can significantly impact how comfortable and livable a space feels. It's important to recognize these problems early and address them to improve our living environment. Remember, the overall theme of this presentation is about understanding common household issues and finding practical solutions. Cleanliness, like the walls being filthy, is just one example of the many challenges we might need to tackle in maintaining a healthy, pleasant home. So on this slide, we're focusing on a common issue many of us face: a strange noise coming from the engine. When your engine starts making unusual sounds, it's a clear sign that something might be wrong. The key question here is, what's the problem? Well, it's happening inside the car's engine, which is a complex system, and any noise could indicate different issues. Now, where does this happen? Typically, it occurs in the engine area, and that's where troubleshooting begins. This is especially relevant when we talk about car repairs. Identifying the problem early can save time and money. Moving to the next part, we have 2 pictures, and each one shows a complaint related to car repairs. The goal here is to read each picture carefully and find one sentence that expresses a customer's concern. This exercise highlights common frustrations drivers experience, such as unexpected noises or issues that disrupt their daily routine. Understanding these complaints helps us better communicate with service providers and ensure our concerns are addressed properly. Remember, catching problems early and clearly expressing them is essential for effective repairs and maintaining your vehicle's health. Now let's take a closer look at some common complaints and how they relate to clothing issues. First, we see the word refund, which means getting your payment back. For example, if you're unhappy with a purchase, you might ask for a refund. Next, torn means shredded or damaged, like a jacket with a ripped sleeve. In the example on the slide, someone asks, "Does she need her money back?" indicating a potential issue with the item. Then we see the statement, "The sleeve is torn," which is a clear complaint about the jacket. The question, "What's the problem with the jacket?" points to identifying issues customers might have. Usually, the problem with clothing could be a tear, stain, or defect. Finally, the activity encourages us to read and find one sentence in each picture that expresses a complaint. This helps us understand how customers communicate their dissatisfaction and what kind of issues they report with clothing items. Remember, in customer service, understanding these complaints and knowing how to respond is key to resolving issues and maintaining good relationships. So in this slide, we're focusing on the word crashed, which means broken. Sometimes computers crash, and that can be frustrating. Yes, he does fix it, but it depends on the problem. When there's a problem with the computer, like it crashing, the first question we ask is, "What's the problem with the computer?" Then we look at different situations. For example, does he fix it for him? It's important to know if the repair is done by a professional or someone else. Now, in the pictures, you'll notice each one has a sentence that shows a complaint about the computer issue. One might say, "My computer crashed again," or "It's not working properly." The key takeaway is understanding how to identify complaints and problems related to computer issues, which ties into the bigger picture of troubleshooting and customer service. Recognizing these complaints helps us provide better support and find solutions more efficiently. So let's talk about some common issues that can really disrupt our day-to-day activities. First, we have a computer that crashes unexpectedly. It might seem minor, but it can lead to data loss or delays in work. Then, there's a torn sleeve, which might seem like a small physical damage, but it often indicates wear and tear or careless handling. Next, the engine making a strange noise is a clear sign that something's not right. It could point to mechanical problems that need attention before they become serious. Lastly, the walls being filthy might seem unrelated, but it highlights the importance of maintaining a clean environment, which can impact health and safety. All these complaints, whether digital, physical, mechanical, or environmental, serve as signals that something needs fixing or improvement. Recognizing these signs early helps us prevent bigger issues down the line and keeps our systems, our belongings, and our environment in good condition. Now let's take a closer look at some of these words and their meanings. First up, we have refund, which means getting your payment back if you're not satisfied or if something goes wrong. Next, filthy describes something that is very dirty, and torn refers to something that has been shredded or ripped. Then there's technician, which is someone who makes repairs or fixes things. Moving on, crashed can mean a few things, but in this context, it often refers to a computer or system failure, like when a device suddenly stops working. Now, if we look at the table, you'll see that broken matches with torn or filthy in some cases, but more specifically, broken is often related to something not working properly. The technician is the person who makes repairs, and get one's payment back is exactly what a refund is. Shredded is a great synonym for torn, as it implies something has been ripped into pieces, and very dirty is the meaning of filthy. Understanding these connections helps us see how the words relate to everyday situations, especially when dealing with problems, repairs, or dissatisfaction. Recognizing these words and their meanings is key to improving our communication and handling such scenarios effectively. Now, looking at this slide, we see four main categories of consumer problems: housing, clothing, car repairs, and electronic products. These categories represent some of the most common issues consumers face. For example, problems with housing might involve rent disputes or maintenance issues, while clothing concerns could include quality or sizing. Car repairs often involve unexpected costs or service delays, and electronic products might break down or not perform as expected. There are a total of 15 pictures here, each illustrating different problems within these categories. It's important to keep track of these images because they help us visualize the types of issues consumers encounter daily. When you're aware of these categories and their common problems, it helps you become a more informed consumer. Knowing what to watch out for can save you time, money, and frustration. For example, understanding potential issues with electronic products might make you more cautious when purchasing or handling warranties. Overall, this slide emphasizes the importance of recognizing typical consumer problems across different areas of life. Being aware of these issues allows us to better address them when they arise and make smarter choices in our everyday transactions. So, what should we be aware of here? Well, as we move forward with this approach, it's important to stay mindful of potential challenges and pitfalls. First, always consider the context. Understanding the environment you're working in helps you adapt your strategies effectively. Second, be cautious of overgeneralizing. What works in one situation might not apply universally. Third, keep an eye on the data and feedback. These are your best indicators of whether your efforts are on track. And finally, remember that change takes time, so patience and persistence are key. By being aware of these points, we can ensure that our implementation remains effective and aligned with our overall goals. All right, let's talk about some common issues you might encounter with a vehicle. First, a dent is basically when the surface of the car is bent inward, usually from being hit or bumped. It's important to be aware of dents because they can sometimes hide more serious damage underneath. Next, a dead battery simply means there's no power in the battery, so the car won't start. This can happen if the battery is old or if you left the lights on. Lastly, a flat tire is when there's no air in the tire, making it impossible to drive safely. Recognizing these issues early and understanding what they mean can help you respond quickly and keep yourself safe on the road. Always be aware of these common problems. They're important parts of vehicle safety and maintenance. So, what should we be aware of? Well, this is a really important part of the process because, as we've discussed, implementing these strategies can bring great benefits, but there are also some potential pitfalls. One key point is to stay vigilant about common challenges, like resistance to change or miscommunication. These can really hinder progress if we're not careful. Another thing to keep in mind is the importance of continuous monitoring and feedback. It's not just a one-and-done deal. We need to be aware of how things are evolving and be ready to adapt as needed. Also, remember that every organization is unique, so what works perfectly in one setting might need some tweaking in another. That's why being aware of your specific context and staying flexible is so crucial. And finally, keep in mind that success often depends on consistent effort and engagement from everyone involved. So, remaining aware of these factors helps us stay on track and ensures that we're moving toward our overall goals effectively. What to be aware of? Well, this is a crucial part of the process because it helps us identify potential pitfalls and challenges up front. First, it's important to recognize that every project or initiative has its unique risks, and being aware of these early on allows us to plan better. For example, some risks might be related to resource availability, timeline constraints, or even stakeholder engagement. Next, I want to emphasize the importance of continuous monitoring. Just because something seems fine at the start doesn't mean it won't change later. Staying alert to warning signs can save us from bigger issues down the line. Another key point is communication. Open, honest, and regular communication helps everyone stay on the same page, which reduces misunderstandings and surprises. Remember, being aware also means being proactive rather than reactive. Finally, connecting this to our overall theme, being vigilant and prepared, ensures the success and sustainability of our efforts. It's about turning awareness into action, so we can navigate challenges confidently and keep our project on track. Let's walk through some common issues we might encounter. First, the computer crashed. This can be a major disruption, but it's important to know how to troubleshoot and prevent future crashes. Next, we have torn sleeves, which might seem minor, but they can reflect on the overall condition of equipment or clothing that needs attention. Moving on, he says he'll have the engine checked. This highlights the importance of regular maintenance to avoid bigger problems down the line. Lastly, the walls are dirty and need to be repainted. Keeping our environment clean and well-maintained not only improves appearance, but also supports a healthier workspace. These points all connect to the broader theme of proactive maintenance and attention to detail in our work environment. Now, let's move on to our next activity, pair work. This is a great opportunity for you to collaborate and apply what we've discussed. When working in pairs, I encourage you to share your ideas openly and listen actively to your partner. Focus on discussing the key points thoroughly. This will help deepen your understanding. Remember, the goal here is to connect these concepts to the overall theme of our presentation, so think about how your ideas relate to the bigger picture. Most importantly, engage in a respectful and constructive conversation. This collaborative effort will not only reinforce your learning, but also give you fresh perspectives. So let's get into it and make the most of this pair work session. All right, for your homework, please refer to the workbook, specifically Exercise A on page 311. I encourage you to thoroughly review this exercise as it's designed to reinforce the key concepts we've discussed today. Take your time to understand each part of the exercise, because the ideas we've covered are interconnected, and practicing through these exercises helps solidify your understanding. Remember, the main points are about applying what you've learned in real-world scenarios, so approach the exercise as an opportunity to practice those skills. By doing this, you'll be better prepared to connect these concepts to broader themes we've explored in this presentation, such as critical thinking and practical application. So, I recommend working through exercise carefully, making sure to reflect on how each step relates to the overall topic. This way, you'll not only complete your homework, but also deepen your comprehension of the material we've covered together.